So how are you, Kentuan? All right. And I might not be able to check the chat as often as I'd like. It's just a habit of mine. I'm too focused on painting, so I might not be able to check on the chat. But yeah, see, so I've put some paint from the pot to the wet palette, and it'll stay wet for a good while, and that's the whole point. So let's move these guys aside and start. I realized, got my glasses on. I don't really need my glasses to do this. And this brush that I'm using, I think it's a little too big for what I'm doing right now, so I'm gonna change it. But let's try and do as much as we can with it right now, and we'll change it out later. I definitely don't want to get any of this paint onto the other parts of the model, which are already painted and pretty much finished, because then I'd have to go back. So we're just being really careful here, even though this brush is kind of fat. Okay, I think it's about time to change this brush. It's a little too big, as I was saying. So these models are just about 20 years old, which is absolutely really crazy to think about. So these models are for Lord of the Rings, the movie. They came out around the same time as the movie. They're like a tie-in game from Games Workshop. And I'm pretty sure I won this set. It's a bunch of miniatures that come in a set, like, so that you can play the game against somebody. There's elves and humans. That's one side, fighting the goblins. And yeah, I won it in a painting competition. Built all the figures. Played maybe like a handful of games. And was like, cool. Time to do something else. And yeah. I think that actually many people say the game is quite good, and in some respects better than Warhammer. That's like the main game that Games Workshop publish and make. Warhammer and Warhammer 40k. So the fantasy game and the sci-fi game. Those are sort of the main games they make. But yeah, in the 20 years ago, they got the license to make a Lord of the Rings game based off of the movies, and the rest is history. The game still goes on to this day. It's still a fairly popular game. I would say not as popular as the other two that I just mentioned, but still reasonably popular. And in fact, I'm pretty sure in Australia and New Zealand in particular, I guess in England too, like the Lord of the Rings game, or they call it the Middle Earth strategy battle game, they're very popular. And I just got some red paint on the armor. Oh god, oh god. It's okay, we'll leave it. It's blood now. It's got bloody knees. Okay, so let me just finish painting the red on this one guy, and then I'll take a look at the chat. And again, I apologize for not checking the chat as frequently as I'd like to. It's just that I get really caught up in painting, and especially for some parts, I need to really focus on painting. I'm sure that there's people out there that can like check the chat really quick and then get back to painting and not lose their focus. But yeah, for me, I feel like when my eyes are really dialed in and focused on like the little details of the model, suddenly looking away to check the chat would basically disrupt my focus. I don't know. Maybe that's just a bunch of BS. So there isn't much red to paint on these models, but I think that it's just enough that it creates some interest and really brings the models to life. It gives you some relief because the rest of the model is so dark and muddy that having that nice bright red kind of helps break it up. And it's not in any vast amount of red that would be distracting. It's just enough. And I was actually a little concerned because this is more or less the official paint scheme, color scheme for the Lord of the Rings models for the goblins. And I was like, red? That seems really bright. I don't know if that's gonna look good. But yeah, actually it looks quite good. I guess those guys at Games Workshop know what they're talking about. They know what they're doing. Alright, so let's take a look at the chat. And I'll get another drink of water here. Because this light, this LED light, makes me so hot. I gotta put on my glasses too. Mary Trunks. How's it going, Mary Trunks? Oh, Kentwan, you're getting a COVID test result? I hope that you are not positive. But I mean, you should be fine, right? So long as you're vaxxed. And Mary Trunks is here. How's it going, Mary Trunks? Nice to see you. Oh, you need to buy a PSN gift card to get Yakuza 0? At least you can buy COVID. At least you can buy PSN cards like kind of anywhere at this point, like a local corner store or a gas station or something. You could probably get it there. Mary Trunks. This new virus is bad. Nice to hear you. The new virus, I feel like, doesn't it? It spreads just as bad, but so long as you're vaxxed, like the effects aren't too bad. I think maybe I don't know. It just sucks. It just sucks all around. All right. Off go the glasses. And let's get back to this painting. I don't know about where you guys are, but it's snowing pretty hard over here. All right. Back to doing the red. I think one of the things that kind of made me stop painting for a good long while was this notion that everything had to be amazing. Everything I painted, every miniature I did had to be super, super good, right? And it got to a point where I think that was very, what's the word, like debilitating. Like it was very, like, it kind of just froze me up, like, shit, if everything I paint has to be super good, then I don't want to paint now. I'll paint later, right? And eventually you just keep on saying, I'll paint later. You know, later when I have more time, later when my skills are better, you know, the excuses basically start piling up, and then you're left with a gigantic pile of gray miniatures that you haven't worked on for 2 decades. That's part of the reason. There's other reasons too, but yeah, that was part of the reason. I mean, also I went away for school, and I didn't really have access to my miniatures, and you know, obviously you kind of go through different phases in your life, and you discover girls. Well, yeah, there's all sorts of reasons, and yeah, you kind of end up falling out of the hobby. But nowadays, I like painting, especially in the winter months, just because it allows me to kind of relax, and yeah, it's just a very relaxing hobby. And to my earlier point, I'm not very concerned about the quality of the paint jobs anymore. I'm not really concerned about doing a super amazing job. It's more about just making something for me, making something that looks good, and just doing whatever. Yeah, because these models also, as I said, they're they're like more than 20 years old at this point. I think they're actually not the best models. They're still fairly good. They were in fact, they were recently reprinted for a Games Workshop like board game kind of. So yeah, they're still in circulation and still being made to this day, 20 years later. So, I mean, that's got to say something about the quality of the miniatures, but still, they're kind of like the details are kind of soft, and it just makes it kind of frustrating to paint sometimes. But if you kind of start with the notion that it doesn't matter how they look, just so long as they look better than just plain gray plastic, then anything's an improvement over that. I'm gonna check the chat real quick once I do this. And yeah, so I was saying earlier, but painting miniatures and drawing and painting like actual paintings, that's always been the plan for the channel, for the YouTube channel and the Twitch channel. It's just that when I started out, like half a year ago or so, it was maybe a little less than half a year ago. It was just a whole lot easier to start with playing games. And of course, I'm not going to stop playing games. It's just that, yeah, this was always part of the plan. So I'm slowly working on the vision, 2022 vision. Do you guys have a vision board where you have like all your ideas and hopes and dreams for 2022? Make a vision board. That sounds like a super Karen thing to do. Sorry. Okay, one more. Let me just get more of this paint on, and I'll check the chat. I mean, I could look away. Like, I have my second screen like very close to me, so I could look away. But as I was saying earlier, it's just a lot easier to focus on the task at hand of painting, because once I take my eyes away from painting, like my eyes sort of focus on something else, and it's a little hard to get back to that point. I don't know. Okay, so let's just make sure that I've got all the parts covered. And I'm trying to get my miniature on the screen. I have this little red crosshair to sort of indicate that I'm painting on in the center of the screen, kind of. Okay, look at that. That's two down. Two down and many to go. Let's see, let's count. 1, 2, 9, 12, about 14 more to go of painting the red. It doesn't take that long though. It's not that bad. All right, clean the brush. Always got to clean the brush. You don't want to get paint stuck on the, you don't want paint to dry up and get stuck on the bristles. That's why you want to clean your brush frequently. Dry it out, get a sip of water. Let's take a look at the chat. The shot. Oh, that's right, Kentuan. You know you can do that, but you can't go out because of the COVID tests. Damn. Damn. It spreads fast and easily. Yeah, Mary Trunks. So you're just waiting. Oh, you don't have a vision board? Just do small goals. That's a good thing. I think that makes sense. That's cool, yeah. Just good to... Oh, excuse me, you're gonna hear some popcorn eating in a second. Popcorn chewing ASMR. Yeah, I think it's good to have goals. But the whole New Year's resolution thing is, and I think we've discussed this previously, but yeah, it's not that useful. Just keep things realistic. For me, I'd like to just kind of steadily improve upon all the things that I've been doing. And I'd like to just be more productive, be more creative, do more stuff in general. Do more painting, do other creative things. That's kind of like my general goal. Whether that be making videos on YouTube or making doing streams on Twitch or whatever. Just yeah, I'd like to just do and create more stuff. Maybe even try sculpting. I've been contemplating sculpting for a while, and I'd like to try that. I probably won't sculpt anything at this scale because it's just way too small. I'd probably start sculpting something a little more manageable, a little bigger, like maybe a bust or something. Because I feel like if I sculpt a little bigger, then I can kind of get the details right. Whereas if I sculpt something huge, if I sculpt something small, I'm not going to be able to get that fine detail. And then maybe as I get better at it, I can kind of start sculpting smaller and smaller. And, in this day and age, there's also digital sculpting too. I'm pretty sure I can't really get into that at the moment, but I would look into it and see if I could get the hardware. Or I'm pretty sure you can do like a very kind of like basic kind of 3D sculpting in that PlayStation game, Dreams. And I think you can even do it in VR. That might be kind of fun to try. And maybe even stream it too, like trying to mess around with Dreams. I actually hear it's quite good as a game and as like a tool to make stuff and make games. I hear it's quite good. I like the developers. They're called Media Molecule, and they made Little Big Planet before, as well as a game called Tearaway. And I like both games a lot, actually. Not just as creative tools to make stuff, but I actually think they're pretty fun games. There's some debate as to that amongst people who have played their games. But yeah, I like their games. It's just that I just never got around to trying Dreams. It just, I don't know. It just didn't work out in terms of the timing and everything, and yeah. But someday I'll try it. I think it's fairly inexpensive at this point. Very excited for PlayStation VR 2 and the future of VR in general. Okay. So at this point with these models, I kind of have to be a lot more precise and careful about where the paint goes, because as I said, I don't want to get paint on all the parts that I had painted previously. This is just about the last step, so I've been kind of working on all the other areas, and it would really suck to get red paint on the skin or the armor or anything like that. That would suck. But in the previous steps, I'm fairly sloppy actually, where I lay down the paint. I'm fairly messy because I don't know. Maybe it takes me back to being a kid again. It's just really fun to be messy, and I know that as I paint, any mistakes, any stuff like that, gets painted over because I hadn't done that part yet. But yeah, back in the day, I used to paint quite a lot, and I used to enter painting competitions, and I've won a few painting competitions. I used to do this kind of as a part-time job, painting miniatures for other people, painting armies, but eventually it kind of sucked the fun out of it. I'm sure you guys know this feeling where a hobby suddenly becomes a job, and then that's not really fun anymore. You kind of hear about that with like people who get into the game industry too, right? It's like this dream, like, oh, I want to work in the game industry, and then suddenly they get into it, and it's like a miserable experience. Of course, you hear stories about that right now, right? About how shitty the gaming industry is. At least some of the practices in terms of crunch time and sexual harassment, blah blah blah. All right, it's time to check chat. All right. Popcorn stream ASMR. All right. Give me a second. I'm gonna blow my nose. So once all the red is done on these miniatures, I can say that they're pretty much done. The base, I've already put the sand on, and I think I might do a little more stuff on the base, but that might have to wait. I'd like to get some flock. If you look at this miniature right here, this is a Gondor, like a Gondorian knight. I forget. Sorry. It's a Lord of the Rings horse guy. And if you look over here, there's the same kind of sand that I use for the ground, but then I've put some static grass, static flock, and I think that really looks good. I'd like to do the same thing for these guys, but I was thinking maybe I could use some like dark brown grass, something dead, to kind of look a little more appropriate for an evil army. But that might have to wait until I can order some. I haven't really fully decided yet. Alright, so let's get back to it. The red painting continues. I have my glasses on, I didn't take them off. Let's just keep going with the glasses. Sometimes I gotta blow like that, sorry. Because like the miniatures might have some dust on them. And you don't want to paint on top of dust, then you're kind of like trapping it. And that's no good. So yeah, my stream title, it does say painting LOTR Guardians, and here I am painting goblins. Nothing like elves. Nothing at all. Unless you go by the Lord of the Rings lore. Isn't it that orcs used to be elves or something like that? I don't really know. I've read the first Lord of the Rings book, but not all the books. I'm more of a fan of the movies, to be honest. Maybe I just wasn't in the right frame of mind. But the books are very slow paced. But I do like reading, actually. I used to be a big avid reader, and obviously it's something that you kind of have to keep up with. And if you don't, you'll fall out of the habit, right? And yeah, I'm currently reading Dune, actually, but again, I'm kind of like a slow reader at this point. I'm probably less than halfway through the book. It's really good, by the way. Very good book. I'm enjoying reading it. It's just I don't know. Sometimes it's just easier to like read a bunch of crap on the internet, browse, read forums, and I should be reading a book instead of doing all that, to be honest. So yeah. So how about for this first hour of the stream, we finish up doing this. I don't think I'll be able to do them all here on stream. That's okay. You guys don't want to see me just do this the whole time. So we'll take a little break at around the hour mark, and then we'll do something else during the break. And then we'll get back to painting the LOTR Guardians. And we'll see from there. But one thing I'd like to do is buy a big miniature. I've been talking about it on my previous streams, painting streams. I'd really like to get some big honkin' miniature. I really don't know what, a monster, a dragon, or something cool like that. So I think that'll be fun. I mean, miniatures by definition are small, but yeah, these days they make really big models like dragons and monsters and ogres and stuff, and I'm really in the mood to paint one of those. Last year I painted a Lord of the Rings troll, two of them in fact. I painted 2 trolls, and I really enjoyed it just because it was a bigger canvas. It was a bigger surface to work on top of, so you could really kind of go to town with rendering techniques, blending, blah blah blah. So yeah, that's what I'd like to do, is kind of work on a bigger model. Still deciding what. Okay, getting there. Man, that popcorn though, it kind of makes my throat dry, and I just had to get a drink of water just there. What's a good snack? What's a good snack to have while you're streaming? I have no idea. I mean, any snack that you can have while you're playing games, I guess, would be good. If I'm playing games and I want a snack, I like things that are dry. I don't like Cheetos or anything like that that can get your controller all frickin' greasy and cheesy cheese dust. That's no good. Okay, okay, we're almost there. We're almost there. Almost there with one more guy done. But yeah, so we probably have one more stream of goblin painting, and then we'll be done with them because they really are practically done. And you know, for me, I haven't really played a game of 40K or Age of Sigmar or Lord of the Rings. I haven't really played any of those games in a good long while. I'm mostly just painting for the sake of painting because it's fun. But at some point, I'd probably like to. There you go. Okay, 4 guys down. No stream. There we go. Okay, so that's 4 guys down. I think we have enough time. Oh, I hit my camera. Not camera, my light. I think we have enough time to do a few more guys before we reach the hour mark. Let's stick with these 2 thus far. Alright, I think at this point I gotta get more red paint. So here it is. And I shook it already, so I really shouldn't need to shake it anymore. And again, I'm just taking this red paint and putting it onto my wet palette. Alright. So the guys I was working on previously, they were archers, and the ones I'm working on now are spearmen. The rules for Middle-earth strategy battle game, I think that they're more simplistic. They're a bit more easier to get into. But for that reason, I think that that's why it's a little more appealing for some people at least compared to Warhammer and Age of Sigmar. Sigmar. Not everyone wants to study a textbook in order to play a game, and effectively that's what a lot of these games are all about. It's like the rules are so vast that they're like it's like a high school math textbook. Yeah, and I remember reading and learning how to play all these games too. Kind of forgot a lot at this point. And nowadays, board games are really popular. It's kind of the same audience, kind of not. I find that a lot of board game players are obviously playing a game because they like the game and it's fun. Whereas people who are into the hobby of Warhammer or any other tabletop strategy game, they're kind of in it for the entire hobby. So that's like playing the game and painting miniatures, blah blah blah. It's more than just playing in the rules. Okay. Yeah, that was actually really fast. That guy was fast to do, so that's good. Let's go on to the next guy. Usually when it's summertime, I tend to not do hobby stuff, but maybe that'll change. I don't know. This summer, who knows? I'm looking forward to nicer weather. I like winter, but you know, sometimes it can get kind of depressing. In fact, I was talking about this previously, but I'm a fan of the game Stardew Valley, and I was playing it on stream, but I kind of stopped. And a good reason, a good portion of the reason why I stopped was because I got to the winter season and I was like, ugh. Depressing. I have to deal with winter enough as it is in reality. I don't want to deal with winter in my fictional worlds. Okay. Okay. Nice. So these guys are a little quicker to paint because they don't have much. It's easier to get to the red parts versus the archers, where the red paint, the red cloth is kind of like hard to reach. All right. Mary Trunks, you need some popcorn? Get yourself some popcorn. Buy the buy the kernels. Like you can buy a big jar of kernels from most grocery stores or bulk barn and just pop it yourself in on the stove. And you can add like as little or as much or no butter as you like, so it can be a whole lot healthier. You guys know of Alton Brown, the Food Network guy? What's his show like? Something Eats or something like that. Anyways, he talks about like the science of food quite often. And he talked about how popcorn could be almost like a breakfast replacement, because if you're not adding butter and cheese and all of that crap, it's essentially just like carbs and fiber, right? So it's not really all that different from cereal. So he poured a bowl, he took popcorn, just plain ass popcorn, and then poured milk in it and he ate it. And I thought that was so gross. But at the same time, I was like, well, from strictly a nutritional standpoint, it's effectively the same as any cereal, and probably better for you than like all of that sugary cereal that they put out there now. It's just the notion of it is kind of gross to me. Popcorn is a nice snack. I get smart popcorn. Kentwan. Yeah, man. Popcorn. In fact, I will be. I will go so far as to say that I like corn in general. I like corn anything. Um, I like popcorn. I like just eating corn on the cob. I like Doritos and corn chips. Yeah, I'm a big corn fan. All right. Let's see. Let's see. We have just about enough time before we reach the hour mark to do probably these three guys. So let's do that. Let's get on it. Let's just let's try and slap some paint down on these three guys, and then we'll see where we are with the time at that point. I'm surprised for Mary Trunks and the other guys that used to work at the movie theater. You guys aren't sick of popcorn? Ooh. Okay, so some red paint kind of bled into the armor. So it's not a big deal. You can fix it up just by flooding that area with some wet paint, some water basically, and kind of pushing it around just like that. And you'll have to wait for the water to dry before you put more paint on that area, but that's basically what you can do. If you get paint on an area where you don't want it, if your paint is acrylic and water soluble, that is, if you notice it fast enough, you can basically just get rid of it with some water. So it is possible to paint miniatures with other kinds of paint. I've seen people paint with oil paints, watercolors, tempera. Tempera? No, not tempera. What am I thinking of? Oh, enamel paint, which is also kind of like an oil-based paint, I guess. When I first painted models, like cars and airplanes and like the X-Wing fighters, I used enamel paints, like Tester's enamel paint, and that stuff isn't so great. But it's all about kind of learning how to work with the paint and understanding its properties. And yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with acrylic paint. That's what this stuff is. And in fact, in art school, art college, we primarily used acrylic paint as well. However, it's formulated differently. It's formulated like painting on canvas is it's very different than this kind of paint, which is designed to adhere to a model, a little plastic model. Very different than paint that's supposed to be on like a canvas or something like that. But the reason I mention it is I recently saw a video from an oil painter, like a painter, like a real artist, smell your farts artist. And he was saying how be very careful if you paint with oil paints, because that guy has cancer now. And a lot of artists who use oil paint, they can end up getting cancer if they're not careful, because some of the pigments used to create the colors, especially the paint called cadmium red. Cadmium is like some kind of mineral or ore or something like that. It's a pigment in any case that's ground up and used to create the red color. It can cause cancer. So the guy was saying, like, if you're going to paint with oil paint, always wear a glove. Do not breathe in the fumes. Try and wear a respirator if you can. All this stuff, and it's like, holy crap. I mean, I definitely have used oil paint in the past, but not a lot. And yeah, the reason I mention is that I've been watching YouTube videos about different painting techniques for miniatures, and there's quite a number of people suggesting using oil paint to get various techniques for painting your models. And I was like, ooh, I don't know. I don't know if that's a good idea, guys. There's paint. There's inks you can use. There's all sorts of different techniques. Ones that don't cause cancer, so how about using one of those? That might be a good idea. How about not having cancer? Just a thought. Let's finish this guy up. Check the chat. So the paint that I'm applying right now is very thin. It's like, it kind of has the consistency of water, or maybe something a little lighter than like milky, like a milky texture. And that's kind of the consistency that you want when you're painting models. You don't want to just take paint straight out the pot and then slap it down on your model. That's how you start seeing like the brush strokes, and applying the paint too thickly, you lose a lot of the detail on the miniature. If you apply the paint thin and just do like 2 coats to get like that saturated color, that's usually the best way to do it. I mean, if you're painting a wall, like if you're painting a house, yeah, go ahead and slap that on. Use a roller, smush the paint around. It takes a longer time to dry anyways. This stuff, this paint here is also formulated to dry a whole lot faster. Yeah, so you don't have that. You don't have to wait 24 hours or whatever it takes for the paint to dry before you touch it, because that would be a big pain in the neck if the paint was still wet. But that was one of the advantages. Someone was recommending using oil paint. Was like, yeah, it takes longer to dry, so you can get better blends and all of that stuff. But it's like, what about the cancer? What about the cancer? Okay, look at that. There we are. So we've got 8, 9. 9 guys that are very, very close to completion. Very, 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 very close. The other thing I like to do is paint the rim black. If you look at, like, they're already black because that's the paint of the color of the plastic. But in this case, I spray painted it white. So I'll go around, and that's the last thing I do, is just go around and do some black, and it looks really nice and sharp. But in the old days, Games Workshop used to recommend, and in some cases enforce, painting the rims of the bases with green. So yeah, like in the 90s and the 80s, there was like all these people with like the same bases, all goblin green. That's what they called the paint, by the way. All the paint have really funny names. Let me see. See, this one's scorpion green. This one here is underbelly blue. Very funny names. There used to be one called snot green. See if I can find a funny painting color. This one here, Bad Moon Yellow. Oh, this is a good one. I actually really like this color. Festering Blue. It kind of looks like this. It's actually very close to this color. They discontinued this line of paint, and so I had to find a very similar close replacement, and that's what this is, Cantor Blue. It's pretty close. It's not exactly the same. There's another company out there in the UK that actually reproduce more accurately these older colors, and in fact, I think they purchased the old factory where the old paints were made, so it's much closer to the old Festering Blue. All right, let's. Oh, hey, look at this. Vomit Brown. That's a good one. What else we got here? This is a good one. Shining Gold. It's a very nice gold color. Shining Gold. And that's another color where I think a lot of longtime painters are trying to find something that replaces this, because it was really good, and the modern equivalent just isn't as good. So yeah, there's people out there that are hunting for like a similar color. Mary Trunks, am I making any money from these streams? Hell no. I'm not even an affiliate, unlike Bacon. So yeah, no way, Jose. Let's catch up with the chat real quick. Oh, I see that Oroku's here. What's up, Oroku? You got Pizza Hut pizza and you're binging Daredevil? I haven't had Pizza Hut pizza in a long time. Is it good? I have no idea. It's been far too long. It's a real Turtles Without Turtle Day. Yeah, tell me more about how Pizza Hut pizza is, because we do have one close to us. I have no idea if Pizza Hut is good anymore, but I remember as a kid getting like the book day. I don't know if you remember this, but they had this prize thing where it was like, if you read a book, you can, to its completion, you can tell your teacher, and they'll give you a coupon for like a free personal pan-sized pizza or something like that. I remember doing that like one time and feeling like such a boss. I was like, yes, I did it. I read a book. Give me my pizza. And in my mind, I was imagining a gigantic pizza that I could like share with the whole family. I didn't really took note of the personal pan-sized part. And then it turns out it's like frickin', a tiny little thing. And I was like, oh. I was like, I'm so disillusioned. I'm never going to read a book again. Oroku, you've considered doing oils? You've maybe done one complete oil painting in my life? Yeah, I feel like we learned how to use oils a little bit in college. I'm not really sure, but yeah, I've definitely made a couple of oil paintings, but I don't know. It seems like a big hassle to work with when you can get very similar results using other methods. Only Green Scorpion is in Spider-Man? Mary Trunks, I heard turtles are vicious creatures. I watched a YouTube video about turtles taking on a lion. What? I need to see this. That sounds crazy. Yeah, in my mind, I feel like turtles are just slowpokes of the animal kingdom. They just really move slowly and methodically, and yeah, I never really envisioned that they'd be fast. Speedy Gonzalez. Let's put these guys right here. I'll catch up with the chat, and then I'll take a little break. And then when I get back, we'll get back to more miniature painting. Ba-ba-ba. Pizza Hut pizza is satisfying. Stuffed crust pizza. The cheese did not entirely melt. That doesn't sound good. That doesn't sound... Oh, but you're saying overall it's good. Na, na, na. I see Kentuan is continuing to offer his help to anyone that will listen. I appreciate the offer, but I think I'll just continue what I'm doing for now. Okay. Oroku, our painting instructor, told us that acrylic is like oils, but another teacher at the same place we went said, no, they are way different. Was the first one Z? And was the second one C? We'll just use those letters. I could see it being between the two of them, but I'm not sure which one is which. The first one was Z, or Zed if you're Canadian. I enjoyed Zed. I liked instructor Zed. I feel like acrylics and oils are different enough that, yeah, like I think you could get similar results, but the means in which you were to get to that point would be very different. Like I feel like working with acrylics, well, just maybe just because I'm more used to it, but it's a little more instantaneous, I guess is the right word. I can kind of, it feels more natural for me to use acrylic. However, painting with oil is nice. Like it feels nice, like because it takes a long time for it to dry. You can kind of blend a whole lot more and get obsessed with blending, or you can even take advantage of the very texture of oil paint itself, and and sort of create texture with oil paint. And again, all of these things you can do with acrylic paint. It's just that the methodology behind it is different. And thinking about it now, Bob Ross uses oil, right? And then he died of cancer. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. And he's a big fan. And again, I see Kentuan offering his help, despite the fact that I said thank you, but no thanks. All right. The second was CB. Yeah, I figured it was CB. I don't even know if it really matters that we kind of hide their names, but I'm just trying to observe proper protocol. But yeah, I was a fan of both of those instructors actually. Although, yeah, I instructor C, I he was never my teacher. I never had him as an instructor. But on the other hand, Z or Zed, I think I had him every single year. I was I was a student there, which is pretty crazy because I forget Oroku. But did you do art fundamentals? I'm not really sure if you did or not. I can't remember, but um, yeah. So art fundamentals plus years 1, 2, 3, and 4 of illustration. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I had him as an instructor all 4 years. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, I enjoyed him as a teacher. All right. All right.